Hi, I'm Kim with the Gluten Free Style. In this video, I'm going to show you how to make gluten-free royal icing, which is perfect to decorate your gluten-free sugar cookies. Okay, so once you make your royal icing, it is imperative that you keep it in an airtight container or sealed completely so air doesn't get to it. Royal icing dries out very quickly. In this recipe that we made, it called for 1/4 to 1/2 of a cup of water. I only used 1/4 of a cup of water, so I kept the icing very, very stiff. So we're going to have to dilute it a little bit in order to work with it. Basically, there are 4 levels of consistency when you're working with royal icing. There's stiff consistency, which you use to make flowers, ribbons, stenciling, things like that. Kind of think of buttercream frosting. That's the consistency that it should be. So this is super thick. It needs to be brought down a little bit in order to arrive to the stiff consistency that we're looking for. The next level down is for piping. Kind of think of toothpaste consistency is piping consistency. A little down from that is medium consistency. Some people call it 20-second icing. Kind of think of ranch dressing. The flow should be like ranch dressing. If you draw a knife through it, it should close itself back over in 18 to 20 seconds. So that is the next level. And then the final level that you'll want to work with is flood consistency, which is kind of the consistency of shampoo. When you draw a knife through it, you're looking at it to close in 5 to 8 seconds. Thinning the icing down is quite easy. You actually add a little bit to, I use this mixing bowl because it's easy to pour out of. Some people use a spray bottle. I like to use this little squeeze bottle because I can add a little bit of water, a couple drops at a time. A little bit of water goes a long way when you're thinning down royal icing. So please keep that in mind. As I stated earlier, I am going to be making cookies for my daughter's bridal shower. I'm not going to do any piping. I don't have any detail like that I need to use really for my cookies. So I'm going to make 3 different consistencies today. I'm going to use the stiff consistency, a medium, and a flood. So I only need a little bit of the stiff consistency for some flowers and little details on some of the cookies. So I'm going to take about 20% of the icing out of this container and thin it down a little bit to the stiff consistency where we're trying to make it about the thickness of buttercream frosting. So again, this is not just stiff, this is very, very thick, way too thick to use even for anything. So I'm going to cover this back up immediately. And then again, we only want to add a little bit of water at a time. When you're stirring your icing, you want to stir it slowly and smoothly. If you stir it really fast, like you're whisking, it will end up putting air into the icing and will make a lot of air bubbles. So when you're actually decorating your cookies, this is going to be a problem for you. So you can see this is still very thick, but it's thinning down a little bit. If you mess up and you thin it down too much, you can either pour more of the royal icing into your container, or you can simply sift in some plain powdered sugar, and that will thicken it right back up. When you're making a stiff consistency royal icing, you want to basically be able to draw a knife through the icing and make sure that it doesn't seal back up. If it doesn't seal back up, then it is a great consistency. Again, this is probably pretty thick. I'm going to add a couple more drops. We are getting very close. Okay, I'm pretty happy with this consistency. It will shake off the spoon, but it's still definitely very thick. So this is what we are going to use today for our stiff icing. Okay, so now I'm gonna take, I don't need as much of this medium icing as I'm going to need as the flood icing. So I'm gonna take just a little more than half of the royal icing. Cover this back up. And we are now making this the consistency of ranch dressing is what most people refer to it as. So that is going to be our medium icing or our 20-second icing so that I can outline and flood at the same time. Again, not a bunch of water at a time. Add a little bit and stir, add a little bit more and stir. And we want to stir slowly, not really, really quickly. We're skipping the piping step. So we've got to thin this down quite a bit to get to the medium stage. It's getting there, but it's still pretty thick. It's important to keep scraping the icing down off of the sides. Otherwise, you're going to get crunchy sugar in your icing. So make sure you're keeping all of the icing wet at all times with the water. It's really just trial and error. You just have to look at it and see if it looks right. Keep the consistencies in mind. So for this medium, remember we're looking for ranch dressing thickness, which is about where we're at right now. Again, if you draw a line through it, it should close up in 20 seconds. Since this is going to be flood consistency, I know that it has to be thinned down a lot. So I can go ahead and add a little more water than I normally would, just because I know it's going to take quite a bit of water to get it to a thin enough consistency to where it looks like shampoo in the flood consistency stage. Still a little thick. A little bit more. We're very, very close. And with this flood stage, we want, if we draw a line through the icing, we want it to close in 3 to 5 seconds. So it should really be pretty thin, not watery at all, but thin enough for that line to disappear in 3 to 5 seconds. And that's about where we are right now with this. So Something I should mention is my cookies, the base of them are going to be white. So if you're going to do coloring and you're going to do piping, you'll want to color it all from the same batch. So leave it a little bit thicker, color the bigger batch, and then after you get the color that you like, then you'll want to pull from there and thin it down more to a flood stage. This way you'll make sure that your colors match for the piping and for the flood. You don't want two different colors. So I will cover this and then I will get my cookies out and start icing them. Now it's time for me to start decorating my cookies. I hope to get a video up on YouTube soon of me decorating cookies. So stay tuned for that video. If you enjoyed this video, hit that like button. If you would like to see other videos from the gluten-free style, then subscribe to our channel. And as always, if you make this recipe, leave a comment below. We'd love to know what you think. See you next time.